please ignore the state of my room. I do not have the time or care to fix them right now. Hi there, and welcome to An Abundance of Books. My name is Julia, and today we're going to be wrapping up 2021 content. The next video out, we're going to be starting 2022, and I want to close the year out by talking about my stats. You're going to see some lovely charts, and I'm going to answer some questions. My best and worst book videos are already out, so you can watch those for a more complete look at my year. So the first question is, how many books did you read in 2021? I read 125 books, which is really impressive. I did not end up finishing The Fellowship of the Ring, if you were curious from my goals video that I followed up on. I tried, it just didn't work, so we ended up with 125. That came out to a total of 41,540 pages. That number differs between Goodreads and my spreadsheet, but it's somewhere around there. Here is the breakdown of pages per month. As you can see, January was my worst month and November was my best. Here's the breakdown by month with the format. I like to track that. I know it's a little hard to see in here, but it gives you a sense of, like, September, I only did one Kindle book. I'm not going to make a chart for every single thing, but I think that this is an interesting stat. And then a breakdown overall of each format. 36 physical books, 39 Kindle books, and 50 audiobooks, which is actually probably higher because if I read a book with my eyeballs and my earballs at the same time, I count it for the eyeballs. Unless there's something extraordinary about the audiobook, then I'll probably just listen to the audiobook exclusively. So audiobooks really saved my butt this year. My most read genre was thrillers with 34, which is high. Like, I know I read a lot of thrillers, but I didn't think I would have read 34. And over a quarter of my reading is just thrillers, but they are really good for slumpy times. And then my next highest is romance, and then fiction, though I did split out fiction and contemporaries, though I don't think I'm consistent about it. I think sometimes if something just has a vibe of being a contemporary, I'll mark it as that, but I don't do it consistently. I kind of forget. Sci-fi, definitely not as big as I wanted it to be. It's actually almost the same as fantasy, which is really surprising because I don't like fantasy and I love sci-fi. And then 6 nonfiction and 6 memoir. Sometimes those are hard to differentiate between, but they give me a different vibe, so I separate them. And then a mystery, again, I think I tried to do mystery and I'm just gonna stick everything in thriller from now on. Other stats, the ownership. So 29% of the books that I read were owned by me before reading them. And then 70% were from someone else. Either I borrowed them from a friend or they were from the library. I don't keep track of specifically where I got things from because it would be like less than 5 books that I've borrowed from friends throughout the year. And reading 37 books off of my physical TBR is not the best, but it's not the worst. Maybe we'll aim to get that number a bit higher next year. Then I wanted to track new to me authors. This is something that I rarely think about. So new to me, 72%, and old, 27%, which I think checks out. I am mostly reading new authors. I think just now in my reading career am I starting to know authors and follow authors, and it takes a while to build up your TBR in that way. And I also don't read a ton of series, so if I did, that would definitely help the old to me authors. In terms of the age of the books, I read 45 2021 releases. It's really good, especially considering I read virtually no 2020 releases in the first half of the year. I kind of have to wait for a build-up or for me to actually hear about books that I'm interested that are coming out in the year because I'm not on top of that. And then in terms of intended audience, I read 4 middle grade books, 23 YA books, and 98 adult books. I feel like I pick up a good amount of YA and don't enjoy it as much as I want to, but I think still, like, having 78% adult, I don't really want it to be more than that because I still like YA and seeing what it has to offer, and it's changing every year much more so than adult. I think I also really like YA for the diversity in it. It's a lot easier to find. And then we can talk about the ones that Goodreads tracks for you. The most popular book that I read was The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho with 4 million shelves, and the least popular was Love Heather by Laurie Petru with 1,600. Both of these books I gave 2 stars. My shortest book was Take a Chance on Me by Salika Snyder at 72 pages. And honestly, it felt shorter than that. And then the longest book was Illuminae at 602 pages, and it felt shorter than that too. That one's probably not fair to call the longest book. And then my average rating was 3.6, which feels right. I gave a lot of things 5 stars, but I also gave out quite a few 2 stars. Oh, we didn't do rating. Here it is. 34 books were 5 stars, which is high, but I'm pretty generous with my 5 stars, especially for like nonfiction. If there's nothing it could have done differently, then like I'll throw it a 5. I am not as precious with my 5s as some other people might be. And then 35 4 stars, 36 3 stars, 17 2 stars, and 3 1 stars. The graph looks great, like over 50% of the books that I read were 4 or 5 stars, but it doesn't quite feel that way. Not all 4 and 5 stars are rated equally. Maybe I'll be harsher in the future. And I think that's also something that's reflected with my average rating, as I am being more critical of the books that I read because I've been exposed to enough really excellent ones. And then the last thing, my average book length is 330 pages, which is right. I don't like long books. Okay, now let's get into some of the questions. Most read genre, we already saw that. Thrillers, I read 34 of them. A book that lived up to the hype and a book that didn't live up to the hype. What I did here was check my Goodreads and see which books had the highest average rating, and they both had an average of 4.5. So one that did live up to the hype was Becoming by Michelle Obama. It was a contender for my best books of the year, it just didn't quite make it. And then a book that did not live up to the hype is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This is definitely a controversial opinion. I know so many people are loving it this year, but it's not for me. Biggest reading accomplishment, I put Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir because I had previously DNF'd it and it was too lofty for me. Like, I didn't understand what was going on most of the time, and the fact that I was able to get through it, I'm proud of myself for. Favorite character, I'm gonna steal a repeat answer from my mid-year book freakout time. It is everyone in The Gilded Wolves. It's a beautiful ensemble cast, and I love each one of them individually, probably more than any individual character in a book I read. And then my least favorite character. Apparently I just want to be really controversial today because I'm gonna say Achilles from the Song of Achilles. I just think he's really difficult and makes Patroclus' life harder than it should be, and I don't like him. He's not a bad character, it's just I think the fact that so many people love him is what makes him my least favorite. Like, I have to bring him down a peg. Book with the most surprising moment has to go to Behind Her Eyes. I'm not gonna talk about it, you should just read it. Favorite writing I gave to The Project by Courtney Summers because I feel the writing here was really intentional. It's following 2 storylines of 2 sisters, one who's in a cult and one who is a journalist. And I thought that the parallels in their story were so well done. The subtle bits in the writing that reflect how the sisters are connected or how their situations are connected, I just think was really smart. And I feel like the people who don't love the book don't love it more for the story aspect. I think they can still appreciate that the writing is really strong. Book you'll be recommending the most, one that I don't have with me because I've already pushed it onto someone, They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. I read a ton of thrillers and I get through them super fast, and I feel like it's the same for other people, and this is just such an easy one to recommend. And it's beautifully written and it's really easy to follow, but still has some good twists in it. It's just a slam dunk. Favorite cover, let me grab them all. It's interesting, I have 5 here because these are all ones that I owned before reading them, so I am very easily swayed by covers. The Midnight Library by Seal Polk. I maintain this is one of the most beautiful covers I have ever seen, just not as beautiful on the inside. Alatsaway by Darcy Little Badger. The lettering, the atmosphere, it's beautiful. And Under the Dust Jacket has dogs. Let me just check, does this one have any dust jacket stuff? No, it's just a beautiful green. Never Rolled Wake by Marisha Pessel. Such a simple cover, but so intriguing. And Under the Dust Jacket, well, the end pages are that same beautiful green, so I must have something for that. But it's got this embossed bit that says 11.2 hours with a little clock. Also a lot of clocks on the books that I like. Then there's Darling by Kay Ankrum. Well, it does sort of feel basic to be like, it's a flower on fire. It works. maybe it's the pink or something. I don't know. I just love this cover. And then of course, Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. Not only is the regular cover gorgeous, but I got the Illuminated edition with the sprayed edges, and the naked hardback looks like this, which is just not okay. A book should not be this beautiful, and it makes me angry sometimes. Book that made you cry the most is a tie between Under the Whispering Door and Anxious People by Frederick Backman. I don't know which one actually made me cry more. I want to say this one made me cry more, but the other one made me cry harder, but maybe it's the opposite. Regardless, nothing else came close to either of those two. Book that made you laugh the most is One Day All This Will Be Yours by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Rarely do I read a book that's purely humor, unless it's like a nonfiction thing. And this one was just so fun. There's ridiculous time travel stuff. It's just a romp. I don't think I would describe many books as a romp, but this one certainly is. Favorite reread? I talked in my 2021 goals reflection that I didn't reread anything. I just don't really think that it's in me. But the only thing that I did reread is The Deep by River Solomon, but not the whole thing, but it's the closest reread that I have. Then we have Most Surprising Read, which I'm going to answer two for. One is the most surprising in general, and then the most surprising 5-star. My most surprising 5-star is Final Girls by Riley Sager, because I know that everyone hates it and think that his older stuff is bad, like that he gets better with each book, until Survive the Night, of course. But this one I think is my favorite of his. It's really smart. It's got good reveals. Like, I had a really good time with it. And then my most surprising overall is The Favorite Sister by Jessica Knoll. I read this in January and I can't stop thinking about it. I give it 3 stars because I think that it has some problems, but it stuck with me and I'm not quite sure why. Like, I don't think it's for quality. The twists weren't that great, but it was just really engaging and I had a great time. And then my biggest disappointment is Hench by Natalie Zana Walshott. This one is the most disappointing because the first 30-40 pages I loved so much, and then I ended up giving the book 2 stars overall. All right, that's it. That's 2021 wrapped up. Although right now I am going to show you all of the books that I read in 2021, just the Goodreads thing, just in case you're curious to see absolutely everything. There it is. You can also follow me on Goodreads if you want up-to-the-minute updates. I want to thank you for sticking around. 2021 was my first year doing booktube and I've really been enjoying it, and I think it's only been beneficial for my reading, so I'm excited to keep it going in 2022. I hope that you enjoyed this discussion of stats. I am a real stats nerd, so let me know if you have any comments on these or any stats that you think I should include next year. All right, that's it for me. I will see you on Thursday, where we will pick the first read of 2022. See you then. Bye.